There's a highly volatile liquid sitting in the hardware aisle right now. It costs exactly $4. It completely clears any choked catalytic converter permanently. It violently melts the heavy carbon blockages from the inside out. It restores your lost engine horsepower within 50 miles of driving. Mechanics aggressively charge $2,500 to replace your exhaust. They are lying strictly to extract your hard-earned wealth. You do not need a brand new metal honeycomb structure. You do not need an expensive dealership diagnostic computer. You do not need 3 hours of agonizing shop labor. No expensive exhaust teardowns. No scamming oxygen sensor replacements. No failing your required state emissions test ever again. This $4 liquid does the exact same job chemically. It works instantly upon reaching standard operating exhaust temperatures. It is the cheapest and most aggressive emissions fix in history, and nobody at the dealership will ever tell you about it. Look closely at the multi-billion-dollar modern exhaust repair industry. They built a massive financial empire entirely on your choked engine. They explicitly engineered the catalytic converter to predictably fail. The mathematical business model is shockingly and violently malicious. They know exactly when that microscopic ceramic honeycomb will violently choke. It always happens right after your factory powertrain warranty expires, usually right around the 100,000-mile marker. A yellow check engine light violently flashes in your face. The dashboard reads a terrifying PO 420 catalyst efficiency code. Your car violently struggles to aggressively accelerate on the highway. They engineered this exact psychological panic to trap you entirely. You limp into the shiny dealership service, bay terrified. A service advisor in a pristine uniform greets you aggressively. They print a terrifying diagnostic sheet full of engineering terms. They quote you $2,500 for a replacement. They claim your expensive ceramic filter is physically destroyed. They say the heavy metal unit is completely beyond saving. They look you straight in the eyes and violently lie. They treat a simple chemical imbalance like a mechanical death sentence. The profit margins on catalytic converters massively exceed 400%. They buy the raw platinum units for $600 wholesale. They invoice you thousands of dollars in phantom manual labor. They steal your original converter to recycle the precious metals. They violently double their profit by selling your trash. This entire transaction is a heavily orchestrated theatrical performance. They are aggressively harvesting your bank account. But this exact exhaust problem was actually solved decades ago. The year was 1975. The Environmental Protection Agency aggressively mandated the first catalytic converters. These early restrictive exhaust filters were choking heavy American V8 engines. Vehicles idled for hours in traffic, using poor quality leaded fuel. This created catastrophic amounts of unburned carbon and raw sulfur. The exhaust systems violently choked on thick black sludge. The massive engines starved for oxygen and died instantly. Industrial engineers needed a violent chemical solution immediately. They needed a highly volatile solvent to aggressively vaporize the soot. They brought in top chemical engineers from the aerospace sector. They deployed a highly concentrated lacquer thinner consisting of raw toluene. This raw chemical liquid was an absolute industrial miracle. Mechanics poured exactly 1 gallon of this liquid into a half-full tank. The chemical traveled rapidly through the extreme heat of the engine. It violently coated the heavy black soot inside the choked pipes. Within 50 miles of highway driving, the carbon blockage simply evaporated. The heavy vehicles regained full aggressive horsepower instantly. The extreme exhaust pressure normalized permanently without any mechanical tools. This exact technology was perfected for industrial commercial maintenance. In 1980, a choked exhaust was strictly a $4 maintenance routine. Then the massive corporate automotive industry caught onto the science. Big auto executives saw a massive, unprecedented financial threat. If consumers knew about the $4 chemical, dealerships would starve. So they quietly deleted this chemical protocol from the factory manuals. They actively buried the exact science that saved early emission systems. They violently replaced a permanent chemical cure with a mechanical trap. We are building a massive, off-grid mechanical survival movement right here. This channel is a direct threat to the corporate automotive cartel. We are exposing their most profitable lies one by one. I do not sell any expensive automotive replacement parts. My only goal is to completely dismantle their massive extraction machine. Do not click away from this video under any circumstances. In the next few weeks, I am exposing the greedy transmission industry. I will powerfully reveal the $3 fluid that permanently stops slipping. I will aggressively expose the $2 trick that fixes your steering. Hit the subscribe button right now. Join the rebellion aggressively. Share this video to violently starve the entire system. Every single subscriber takes massive power away from the service advisors. Stay with me right here. I am about to show you exactly how this hidden chemical works. To deeply understand the scam, you must understand the microscopic physics. Look closely inside your failing catalytic converter. It is a massive steel cylinder filled with a ceramic honeycomb. The physical walls of this honeycomb are coated in rare platinum. Hot exhaust gas violently forces its way through these microscopic pores. The platinum triggers a chemical reaction to neutralize toxic tailpipe gases. This is exactly how it was engineered to work. But burned fuel is an incredibly dirty physical substance. It contains massive amounts of raw carbon and heavy sulfur. Over 100,000 miles, these elements violently layer upon themselves. They bake aggressively onto the sensitive platinum honeycomb walls. The microscopic tubes become completely physically choked with solid mass. This creates an immediate and terrifying hydrostatic pressure drop. The exhaust gases simply cannot escape the engine block. The internal backpressure violently spikes to dangerous, critical levels. Your engine literally begins to physically choke on its own waste. The downstream oxygen sensor detects this massive pressure differential immediately. It panics and violently triggers the P0420 check engine code. The dealer strictly claims this solid carbon mass is completely permanent. They claim the rare ceramic structure is hopelessly and utterly compromised. They tell you the microscopic pores are permanently sealed shut forever. This is an absolute, mathematically proven scientific lie. Carbon and sulfur are simply chemically dormant physical structures. They are completely vulnerable to aggressive catalytic chemical solvents. You do not need a violent mechanical exhaust extraction. You do not need heavy saws to physically cut the converter out. You simply need to fundamentally alter the ignition threshold of the soot. You need an aggressive chemical solvent to break the rigid molecular bonds. You need to force the carbon to violently burn at a lower temperature. This is where the $4 liquid creates a violent chemical miracle. The active ingredient is a heavy concentration of pure toluene and acetone. This is an incredibly aggressive, highly volatile industrial lacquer thinner. When you pour this raw solvent into your fuel, everything changes. The chemical binds aggressively to your standard unburned gasoline molecules. It travels directly through the incredibly hot, high-pressure fuel injectors. It easily survives the violent explosion inside the engine combustion chamber. It exits the engine block exactly as a highly vaporized chemical mist. This microscopic mist travels rapidly down the hot steel exhaust pipe. It violently collides with the massive carbon blockage inside your converter. The toluene nanoparticles aggressively penetrate the completely rigid carbon matrix. This initiates a massive and immediate catalytic chemical phase change. The highly volatile solvent violently raises the internal exhaust temperature. It physically forces the solid carbon and sulfur to aggressively ignite. Your normal exhaust heat is now completely lethal to the solid soot. The carbon blockage violently ignites while you are driving normally. A microscopic firestorm aggressively erupts inside the blocked ceramic tubes. The heavy black sludge violently oxidizes on contact. It breaks down rapidly at an incredibly aggressive molecular level. The solid carbon violently transitions into completely harmless carbon dioxide gas. The massive, solid blockage literally evaporates into thin air. The hydrostatic backpressure inside the exhaust pipe drops instantly. The downstream oxygen sensors immediately read the perfect, flawless baseline numbers. The computer violently clears the terrifying check engine codes. Your massive lost engine horsepower is aggressively and fully restored. The microscopic pores of the rare platinum are completely surgically cleaned. This is not a temporary, weak chemical band-aid. This is a permanent structural restoration of the expensive ceramic matrix. The filter is safely returned to absolute perfect factory specifications. Big Auto absolutely hates this exact scientific and chemical reality. They desperately pray you never learn this specific molecular chemistry. Let us deeply look at the violent economic reality of this scam. The multi-billion-dollar repair industry strictly relies on your blind ignorance. A dealership exhaust replacement violently costs $2,500. It takes them 2 agonizing days to finish the mechanical job. You lose thousands of dollars paying their outrageous diagnostic fees. The new replacement converter will just aggressively choke again eventually. The cycle of financial extraction violently repeats itself endlessly. Now look closely at the military chemical alternative. A mechanical replacement costs $2,500 and lasts 50,000 fragile miles. A massive solvent flush costs $4 and lasts forever. You apply it once for completely permanent, flawless chemical maintenance. A routine dealership diagnostic visit costs $150 and lasts 0 miles. A can of pure lacquer thinner costs $4 and lasts forever. They cannot build a massive financial empire on a $4 fix. Their entire mathematical business model violently collapses when you understand chemistry. Here is the exact, unforgiving protocol to fix your exhaust today. Follow these specific steps with absolute, unrelenting military precision. Walk immediately into your local hardware store, paint aisle. Walk directly past the shiny, ridiculously expensive mechanic tools. Look for a metal clearly labeled as pure lacquer thinner. You must absolutely verify it contains heavy toluene and pure acetone. Do not accidentally buy weak mineral spirits or paint prep. Purchase exactly 1 heavy metal gallon for exactly $4. Take it directly to your choking vehicle out in the parking lot. Ensure your gas tank is sitting at exactly 1/2 full. You strictly need a highly concentrated chemical ratio for the maximum effect. Open your metal fuel door and completely remove the plastic cap. Insert a clean, narrow plastic funnel directly into the fuel neck. Pour exactly 1 entire gallon of the raw solvent into the funnel. Do not violently spill this raw solvent on your exterior car paint. Replace your plastic fuel cap and physically tighten it completely securely. Get strictly into the driver's seat and violently start the engine immediately. Drive the heavy vehicle straight to the nearest wide-open highway. You must drive aggressively for exactly 150 miles. Keep the engine RPM consistently hovering around 3,000. This safely generates the exact exhaust heat required to trigger the catalyst. Let the vaporized chemical solvent aggressively wash over the solid carbon. Within the first 50 miles, the terrifying check engine light will vanish. You will feel a massive, aggressive surge of restored horsepower immediately. Your expensive ceramic converter is officially and permanently chemically cleaned. We are aggressively ending the era of planned corporate obsolescence today. We are violently rejecting the engineered fragility of modern automotive design. Decades ago, we fixed catastrophic exhaust failures with brilliant chemical solutions. Today, massive corporations engineer intentional failure strictly to harvest your bank account. They violently treat you like a walking, programmable, automated teller machine. They aggressively hide simple chemistry to sell you massive mechanical lies. That vicious, unrelenting cycle of corporate extraction violently dies right here. Take your financial power back aggressively from the dealership service advisors. Fix your own heavy machinery permanently with basic high school chemistry. Starve their fraudulent profit margins entirely and completely. Share this exact video with every single vehicle owner, Send it violently to anyone facing a massive emissions repair bill. Force this hidden scientific knowledge aggressively into the public light. We are building a massive army of educated, off-grid rebel mechanics. We will not be violently extorted by greedy corporate automotive cartels anymore. Your expensive vehicle belongs completely to you, not the corrupt network. But this is absolutely only the beginning of our brutal war. There is a much bigger, more violently expensive scam hiding inside your engine. Next week, I am aggressively exposing the massive engine oil cartel. I will powerfully reveal the $3 fluid that fixes blowing head gaskets. The technicians violently charge you $3,000 to mechanically rebuild it. Make sure your notifications are aggressively turned on right now.